My name is Shankar, and I'm going to be your humble, I guess, co-host, maybe, with Adam Siladi. We're really thrilled. We have a great turnout. I know you guys are enjoying your lunches and whatnot, but we have a great show in store for you. Just in case you're not familiar with the podcast, it started earlier this year, and it's a great way for you to learn about the new products that we offer and just the industry as a whole. So it's really tough running your practice and trying to get an idea of what's going on. There he is. We might have a special guest for you here today. We might. I don't know. I told you, you never know with podcasts what you're gonna get. Well, you sit right next to Adam there. We said, oh, you got. That's good. Now things just got interesting, folks.
How are you?
So, GK, just to bring you up on speed, we are live right now, so there's literally hundreds of folks out there, so you might want to just give them a wave there.
Dr. Graw is in the house.
Yes, yes, he was. He actually podcast earlier today. We have here with us Dr. Abney, and Dr. Abney, and as well from Cambridge Pediatrics, and yes, Dr. Nance from oh, am I in the way here? All right, we'll let that go. And Dr. Nance from WellessenceMD, and both of them collectively, we're going to talk about patient portal. We're going to talk about kiosk and messenger and how they're using it and optimizing the flow for their practice. But I'll go ahead and let you say a little couple words, you know.
Oh, put me on the spot, Shank. Put me on the spot. No, I think it's a great conference. That's the first thing. I hope you all are having fun being here and learning a lot. I think these are great. Kiosk, I saw the video that they were recorded. I heard you. I think engaging patients with technology is the next frontier. And what you're going to hear from both the panelists is some great experiences on how the kiosks helped with individuals expressing themselves more openly and securely with the clinical staff. And that's great. And I think you're going to also hear how practices have completely transformed and made sure that 100% of their patients have online access. So I don't want to take the show. They're the spotlight. I'm going to turn it over to Shank or turn it back to you, and you're going to run the rest of the show.
Yes, I am.
Lovely. Thank you for having me here. I'm going to take a seat on the side. You continue with the show.
Chris, take that. I got a mic.
Oh, you got your mic. Okay.
Well, I thought, I didn't know, I knew Girish was going to get a close-up look at this, but I didn't know it was going to be quite that close. Well, welcome both of you, Dr. Abney and Dr. Nance. We know that you guys are both very, very involved with a lot of the changes that are happening in terms of communicating with patients, working with patients, getting them engaged, which is the, the hot topic term going around. And there are so many things that are being offered, so many different solutions, so many different ways of engaging patients, especially because people are on their computers, they're on their tablets, they're on their iPhones, whatever it is. So somewhere along the way, you have to make a decision about what's going to be put into place. How do you make those decisions? Who makes those decisions at your individual practices? Maybe we'll start with Dr. Abney.
Sure. So in our practice, it's a little bit of a group decision. My partner and I actually have the final say, but we have an awesome staff, specifically our practice administrator and our practice manager, who are always looking for ways to make our practice both more profitable, but also, and more importantly, easier for our patients to engage in. So quite often what happens is they'll find something, they'll pitch it to us, and we'll say, sounds good, let's go for it.
So that real impetus really comes from the staff. It's a kind of a team
It is
effort
indeed a team effort, but I have to give a lot of credit to those two people, my practice administrator and my office manager, because they actually have more time to do that because we're seeing patients. So they have the opportunity to see something, or if we see something and mention it to them, they can research it. And then from there, we can make a decision about what to do.
And Dr. Nance.
Well, this is my 5th users conference, and I'm here with my office manager, Maggie, and it's her 4th users conference. And so I would really say that both of us always come here looking for the latest ideas, and we really enjoy change initiatives. So if we think there's a way that we can make the practice better, we like to bring it back. I am a solo practitioner. I have a nurse practitioner that works with me about 10 hours a week, and otherwise we have 3 medical assistants that are cross-trained to work both the front desk, the mid-office, as well as the back office. We help out everywhere. And at this point in time, we also have been doing our own billing. So we pretty much go with whatever changes come our way. We try it for a while. We do have regular meetings and we check in with each other throughout the day, throughout the week. And if we need to adapt something, we do. And we're just really eager to perpetuate that culture of change where we don't shy away from it, and we will go ahead and try it. And we do have the benefit of only having one provider and the nurse practitioner, so we don't have to onboard a large number of physicians, and the training initiative is a little more simple since I come here and learn it myself.
That culture of change that you mentioned, I think it sounds like a common thread in both of your organizations, and it sounds like something that is leading to a lot of the success. Now, success in what? I think maybe we need to talk a little bit about what you're actually using and what we want to focus on here today, because I think success could be defined in so many different areas and so many different ways. Your practices, I think, are leveraging kiosk,
Yes.
messenger,
Yes.
patient portal specifically. So let's talk about some of those. I think you have something about the kiosk that maybe people would find interesting.
Sure. We actually have 4 kiosks. We started with 2 and very quickly went to the 4th to 4. And our patients love it. They get to do their check-in more quickly. If there's a problem, they still have the window to go to ask questions and those kind of things. But most importantly, they get to fill in right there some of the information we need. We're pediatricians, and we do ages and stages and lead screening, and that can be done right there at the kiosk. So once the patient comes back to see the physician, we've had a chance to look at all of those answers and are ready to discuss them. And I think our parents really appreciate that because it makes the visit go more smoothly.
One more follow-up question, and of course I want to get Dr. Nance's take on this too, is the kiosk in a pediatric setting, because of course you work with Cambridge Pediatrics being your primary thing. What's the difference in using the kiosk in that pediatric setting versus any other kind of?
So the biggest difference in using it is the person that is signing in is usually not the patient. It's the parent, so they have to remember that they're signing in for their child. So it makes some of the things a little more challenging, like capturing a photograph. Unless the child is right there, or we can bend the kiosk so they can be seen, that's a little harder. But it works really well. The other thing is parents right now have to remember that if they're going to check in a couple of kids, they need to do 1 kid and start over and do number 2. But hopefully that's going to change soon.
And Dr. Nance, are you using the kiosk yet?
We're not using the kiosk right now, but we do plan to implement that this fall. But one of the ways that we've been able to enhance engagement with our patients is that before they even schedule an appointment, we do direct them to our website, which has a link to the patient portal. And all of our patients pre-register on the patient portal prior to making an appointment in our office. So that gives them their first exposure to the portal, and we hope that it enables them to have a certain level of comfort and aren't going to shy away from using that to communicate with us in the future. And for those patients that either don't have access to a computer or are intimidated by going to the patient portal for pre-registration, we just invite them to come early and we let them use one of our tablets, and the medical assistant walks them through that process. And that really tends to alleviate the fear. They get their username and their password right away at that visit. We show them how to reset that password if they're having any troubles. And then we just find that for those patients that are a little more technologically timid, if they get that extra attention from a staff member who takes the time to walk them through it, it saves us lots of time down the road, because now the patients know how to communicate with us, they know how to access their information, and we really haven't had many problems with that.
So when you do finally go to implement the kiosk, are you nervous about it at all? Is there any kind of like a risk involved for you?
No, we're not nervous at all. We're actually very excited. We've been looking at the kiosk since it was one of those big airport terminal looking devices, and at that point in time the price point was intimidating, so we did not move forward then, and I'm pretty happy that we don't, because we'd still have that piece of hardware. But with the kiosk as it is now, it's basically an iPad, and there are multiple ways that you can have that within your office. So we are excited to implement that, and we are planning on putting a variety of questionnaires that our patients are now filling out on paper that our staff has to input, and that's going to save our staff a lot of time, and it's going to be more convenient for the patients. So I don't think we have a lot of fear. I think we're going to get the iPad and implement it and probably not look back.
Now, both Helo Messenger and the Helo Patient Portal allow you to send reminders and communicate with patients. Those automated appointment reminders that are available in both of them. I just want to ask both of you whether you've seen any improvements in your scheduling performance by using this feature. You know, like reduction in no-shows, more patients showing up on time for their appointments. What's been your experience?
So our experience has been very good with Helo and the portal and the messenger. For example, one of the things we use are the reminders, like for A1C, for well visits, and those kind of things. And it's really made a difference in people actually keeping those visits and making those kind of appointments. We haven't really seen a big difference in no-shows, but we're continually adding providers, so that might have something to do with that. But our patients really like the messenger.
Yeah, our feedback is that sometimes our patients feel like we almost stalk them because we send out so many reminders. And one of the things that they enjoy is that we make that follow-up visit right there while they're in the office. They immediately get an email that that appointment was made. That alleviates a lot of time with people scrolling through their own calendars and feeling like they have to insert that at that point in time because the email shows up right away. We then send out a reminder 1 week ahead of time. This also works well for us for just reminders. We'll often just point out to the patient at checkout, you're due for your annual physical in 5 months. Would you like to just put that appointment in the schedule right now? You'll get a reminder email about this 1 week ahead of time. If that's not going to work for you at that point in time, feel free to call us and reschedule. So that's almost an automatic reminder that we have built into our system, which definitely helps with people getting in for the care that they need. So we find that to be very useful. And that reminder the day before is invaluable as well, because many of us with busy lives, we can get a reminder a week ahead of time and need that, oh, I'm supposed to be there tomorrow, so they like it.
Now you mentioned a week ahead of time, right? And of course you're able to configure, customize when those appointment reminders go out. In fact, you can send 1 reminder, 2 reminders, whatever. Have you played around with what works best?
We like the 1 week ahead of time and then 1 day ahead of time. And then otherwise patients seem to get inundated, and you know, you don't want them to get notification fatigue. So
we actually have played around with it, and we for years, even before we had this capability, had a reminder system for our patients where they were called initially by a live person and then recently by a messenger system. So when we got our new one, we said, let's try making it 3 days in advance, giving them a little extra time to say I'm not going to make that appointment, reschedule, or reschedule their life. Like, say I'm going to be off this afternoon. What we saw happen is that people didn't listen to the whole message. So they got, this is Cambridge Pediatrics calling, your child has an appointment. They said, okay, yes, I got that. And they showed up the next day because our patients had been used to having a reminder the day before. So we actually had to change it, play around with it a little more, and bring it back to being the night before, because it just wasn't working for our patients who for many years have been used to having a reminder the day before.
And I think that kind of goes back to the whole reason we have these modules, is that all your patients are different. They're not going to be the same. Some of them are going to prefer to get a reminder a little earlier. Some of them are going to prefer to get a reminder the day before. Some of them want a text message or an email or a phone call. And all these systems allow you to have that flexibility. So, Dr. Nance, you work with a variety of, I don't know, I don't want to use the word alternative in a bad light, but less traditional
How about integrated?
Services.
I like the word integrated.
Okay, that's very good. And things like, you know, weight management, stress reduction, life coaching, those types of things. What kind of an impact has the patient portal, or this let's just make it more general and just say these additional abilities to communicate? Have you seen any kind of an impact on the effectiveness of those programs? Or?
Yeah. I think that because many of our services require a little more intensive follow-up, we do have some clients that we'll see weekly, especially those who are involved in part of our weight management program. So once again, it enables them to ask us a lot of questions. If they're just starting on a new nutritional plan, they can use the portal if they're worried about anything. The patients do like the online scheduling feature. As far as patient engagement goes, they really do enjoy our practice Facebook page as well. We put a lot of content there that our patients happen to be interested in, and that enables us to engage that way as well. And the portal, I think, just gives people convenience when it comes to having access. And I know that a lot of physicians are worried that when they enable the portal and when those patients have access to them, that they're going to be inundated with messages. And what I've found is that I think how often patients contact you is inversely proportional to how available they perceive you to be. So when my patients know that I will most likely get back to them with a direct message that they know is for me in that same day, they're very respectful, and they also understand if it's a less urgent message. I get a lot of newsy things from my patients too, things that are just cute, and I can either just acknowledge back with thanks or sounds great, you know, and that simple connection, I think, builds that personal connection that we often lose in today's digital world. So on some level, there's less direct verbal communication, but there's so much more digital communication, and I think that's what we're all becoming used to.
I think that's a really interesting point, and I didn't quite realize that myself, that, you know, when I perceive someone to be less available, I'll call them all the time because I'm thinking they're not going to get back to me, I've got to do it.
You get very anxious.
Right,
yes.
Exactly. That anxiety. So it seems like that's reducing some of that patient anxiety for the ability to communicate with the providers. Now, Dr. Abney, do you have any similar programs or plans for this?
One of the best things that I think it does for our patients is, because of it, they can go and print out their own immunization schedule for their children. Before, people would have to come into the office to pick up a copy, those kind of things. So I think they perceive it as being a lot more patient-friendly, a lot more family-friendly. And the other thing I think they really do, sort of like you said, they enjoy knowing that if they send a message, they're going to get an answer. We do ask kids, especially since we have pediatric patients, that if it's really an emergency, please give us a call. Don't put it on the, don't send it as a message. Give us a call if you think it's a very big emergency. We also use Facebook, and we have the same rule, not to put anything patient-specific on our Facebook, because you're giving away your kids' public personal information.
And patients need to be trained on that. There's always going to be a few people that use those vehicles in an inappropriate way, but as long as you reach out with a phone call and explain in a friendly fashion, people tend to figure out what's appropriate, what's not.
Yeah, not only do they appreciate it or figure it out, they realize, wait, my doctor cares about my child's whole life or my patient's whole life, not just what they do in the office. When you say, look, if you do this, you're giving away things you shouldn't give away.
And
they get that.
Similarly, we have a practice email, and sometimes patients get a little confused between their portal messages and the practice email, and they could send a medical question over email. Once again, we pick up the phone, we just educate that email is not secure, and I think that they respect that we are paying attention to privacy and security, and I think it gives them some comfort around using the portal.
Last thing about the portal, your point about email not being secure and the portal being secure. Our practice is in the DC metropolitan area. I know everywhere people are concerned about security, but our patients' parents work for all the ABC agencies, DEA, FBI, etc. So they're extremely concerned about privacy. So they really appreciate, I think, the ability to have that very private way of communicating with us.
Now, Dr. Abney, your practice, we know, is using eClinicalMessenger quite a lot, and I think you've started to use a number of the campaigns.
Yes.
Can you let us know which of the campaigns you're using?
So we do A1C, well visits, lab reminders, referral reminders. I think I'm missing one. Missed it. I can't remember the last one, but
there's a number of them.
We use most of them. The other thing we do in addition to that is we use reports, scheduled reports, so that we can run like a diagnosis or medication specific report and then send messages that way also.
So these campaigns are, of course, looking for your patients. They're automatically looking for the patients that fall into those categories, automatically contacting them, sending them messages. What were you doing before? What was the process like?
It depended on what it was. It's the flu season, let's talk about what we did for flu. Of course, we posted on our website that it was flu season. We reminded people with our telephone messaging, but we actually would run a report and people would be called by someone in the practice to remind them, and specifically our kids who are at high risk. Now we can run a report of just the asthma patients and send them all a message that says, time to get your flu. We also do the pediatric flu campaign, which sends a message out to the entire practice.
And with that paper-based system, I think you had mentioned at some point that you had somebody go through once a week and check to make sure that patients were contacted and take them off a list or something.
You're talking about the labs. For many years, we've actually done follow-up on our labs and our x-rays and our referrals. And we had, when we had paper charts, a separate chart that we put the chart into if they had a lab or if they had an x-ray. And every week, an employee was supposed to check it. And if it was still there, it meant it hadn't been done. It meant that the patient hadn't gotten the lab and it hadn't gone to the doctor, so it was still there. That took up a lot of staff time. So now we don't have to do that because it automatically, if people haven't gotten it, they get a message, you haven't gotten your lab. Please remember to go and get your lab done.
Now, we have time for just one more question, unfortunately, because it's a little bit of a shorter podcast here. I'd love to talk with both of you more about this, and maybe we can set up an individual podcast with each of you at some other time. But I wanted to ask you, using these technologies, I think one of the fears that people have is that, are we going to become disconnected? Are we becoming more disconnected because we're looking at things like this all the time? Using these types of communication technologies, do you feel more connected or less connected to your patients than you did before?
Do you want to go first?
I think we can ask that to ourselves about every aspect of life. Are we more connected or are we more disconnected? You don't have to look very far to see the latest blog on how, teenagers are now connected to that digital device. Are they actually interacting with people in real time? How that will evolve is something that's very interesting, but I think that we as physicians need to embrace the fact that this is the way many people are communicating. And historically, we really only communicated with people that were in our very close vicinity. The fact that now that we can communicate with people that don't just live in our neighborhoods or our cities or our states or even our country has really opened up the world to us. So we have so many opportunities to engage in ways that we couldn't before. And I think we heard on the keynote speech about how a doctor was able to engage with a patient while he was on a flight. I think that we now see that I can engage with my patients who go away to college and are in different states. And there's ways with telemedicine. We are also going to be trailblazing that this year. And our patients are very excited because they want to feel like we are their medical home. And if you can reach out and phone home from wherever you are, whether that's digitally or with an actual telephone, I think that we're actually creating more engagement and more attachment to our patients, and I think we're going to see that trend continue.
At the risk of sounding redundant, that's exactly how we feel in our practice. We feel like rather than feeling more distant from our patients, we feel closer to them, and we actually think that they feel closer to us. The best example, one of the best examples, is the kid who's away at college but hasn't given up his pediatrician yet. And he or mom can communicate with us very easily. They can even set up an appointment online from college knowing when they're going to come home. We can refill their medications. They can reach out to us and know, as you said, that we're right there for them just like we were when they were living right next door to the office. And I think that, and the fact that we can have communication in the manner that they want to have it, whether they want to go to the portal, whether they want to look at the website, whether they want to check our Facebook page. Not only are we there for them, we're there for them in the way that they want to be connected with. And that's very important. Connecting with your patients the way they need to have you connect with them.
Well, Dr. Abney, Dr. Nance, thank you both so much for being here and joining us today.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed what you've seen of today's eClinicalWorks podcast. We're trying something new and exciting here, a live podcast, and we are going to go to questions in just 1 second. But I wanted to let you know before we do that, that if you want to check out more from the eClinicalWorks podcast, you can check us out on our YouTube page, the eClinicalWorks YouTube page, or you can download us on iTunes and you can listen to us in the car or wherever is convenient for you. I'm going to turn it over to Shank now, and we're going to go to questions from the audience. Thanks,
Adam. That was a great podcast. I think they deserve a round. Look at this. This is social media.
I'm going to tweet you.
Engage with your patients. Go home. Think about it. All right. As Adam said, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. We do have a raffle that we draw at the end of this, and I'm going to go to you first. I am going to go to you first. So we're going to go ahead and pick that, and Yeah, we'll go ahead and take it from there. All right. Yes, sir.
I'm a pediatrician. I have a simple question. We are planning to introduce kiosk. Do I need a kiosk? Can it populate driver's license and insurance by taking picture, or we have to have a medi scan for that? That is the question. How you do?
The question.
And I can. You want to repeat it?
All right. I'll let you get the next one, Shank.
All right, now let's not make it awkward. All right. The question was. With the kiosk or to populate information in the demographics, for example, you have a couple of options. Can you do it from the kiosk to take a picture and get that information imported in the system? Or do you have to use a Metascan where you can scan a driver's license, for example, and populate that information? So, Adam?
I believe you might know the answer.
With your kiosk, you can actually scan the picture of your insurance card and your driver's license right there at the kiosk. If there's a problem, for example, if someone doesn't have their driver's license, they don't have that kind of ID, which is what the kiosk really likes to have, you can always do everything else and then give the card to the office window and they can scan it in.
Well, at the very minimum, the kiosk is going to take the picture of both the front and the back of the driver's license and the ID card. It's going to save it to that patient's file for you, so you don't have that workflow of going to the scanner, finding the file, putting it in. So at the very least, it's going to reduce that for you. It should also pick up some of the information on those cards and help put that into the system for you. Very nice question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And again, fill out your cards for your participation.
Promote usage of the kiosk with your patients when they came into the practice?
How did we promote usage of the kiosk? Well, we did a little messaging in advance that it was coming, but the other thing is people are very technologically savvy and people want to see that their doctor's office is doing the newest, the greatest thing. So when they showed up, people were like, oh, wow, I can check in right here. I don't have to wait for the next person at the window. So we didn't really have to do that much promoting. We did a little bit. And once they were there, people were just thrilled to try them out.
And people love to touch things, play on iPads.
That's right.
Yeah.
People love to touch things.
Just go to the Apple store and you see everybody there.
We've recently started using the kiosk, and we actually put an employee in the waiting room and directed them to that. And I think our patients really like that interaction with the employee on the opposite side of the desk. So I just didn't know what y'all had done to promote that as well.
We also have, when somebody sort of feels like few people will be intimidated. And when somebody feels a little intimidated, or when somebody's kind of not quite sure what to do, people will come from around the desk and they'll stand there and help them. So it was a little bit of both of those things.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Again, you guys have an amazing wealth of knowledge, and they're doing what a lot of practices will be doing. So really pioneers in terms of leveraging the technology that they have, because that is the direction it's going. So any thoughts, comments, concerns? I just want to remind you of a couple of things. Definitely on Twitter, hashtag eClinicalWorks, hashtag NUC 2014. Get your thoughts out there. And with that being said, I'd just like to give another round of applause to Dr. Abney and Dr. Nance for an amazing podcast. Thank you so much.
This broadcast and its contents are the sole property of eClinicalWorks and are protected by federal law and international treaties. You are strictly prohibited from making a copy of, modification of, or form of rebroadcasting or re-encoding this broadcast without prior written permission from eClinicalWorks Public Relations, except as may be permitted by law. This broadcast is provided for informational purposes only. It is intended as a personal, non-commercial use. Product specifications are subject to change without notice. Please contact eClinicalWorks Public Relations with any questions. eClinicalWorks V10 EHR is ONC HIT 2014 edition certified as a complete EHR. eClinicalWorks V10 CC 2014 955447-1.